أفلا ينظرون إلى الإبل كيف خلقت وإلى السماء كيف رفعت وإلى الجبال كيف نصبت وإلى الأرض كيف سطحت فذكر إنما أنت مذكر لست عليهم بمسيطر إلا من تولى وكفر فيعذبه الله العذاب الأكبر إن إلينا إيابهم ثم إن علينا حسابهم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد.
Let's welcome Shaykh Nabil with 3 loud salawat.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل، نعم المولى ونعم النصير. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين، سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء، ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ملعونين. أما بعد, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the Shahada, Ulama and Siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahl al-Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. Allahumma salli ala. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. The month of Dhul Hijjah, as I have previously said, is the month of Wilaya. There are so many events within this month that have passed us that are related to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And I've endeavored, if not off the minbar, then through the voice notes, to highlight some of those events. But there are so many more as well related to the followers of Ahlul Bayt as well. The death of many great scholars, many great Arafa within this month as well. But of those main events that are related to the Wilaya, we started the month with the marriage of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Sayyidah Fatima salamullah alayha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And then the event of Sadd al-Abwab, all of the doors of the masjid being closed except for the door of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The event of Ghadir, the revelation of Surah al-Insan, Surah al-Dahr in praise of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And like this, the events continued, and then on this day, the 24th of Dhul Hijjah, it is the day where the ring was given by Amir al-Mu'mineen in the state of Ruku'. It is the day when what we know as Hadith Kisa, the event of the cloak, took place. It is the day of the revelation of Ayah Tathir and it is the day of that event that has the greatest virtue of Ali Muhammad within it that cannot be denied by, and many have tried denying all of the other virtues, but this is that one virtue that cannot be denied by the enemies of Ahlul Bayt at all, and that is the event of Mubāhala. The Mubāhala is such an event which very clearly sets out the maqam and the position of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. It is the greatest Eid of the Fada'il of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, the greatest Eid of the virtues of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And it is an event that we really don't give that much importance to, unfortunately, that we find ourselves in this state of disconnect from it. Not really, we know, like there was a debate that happened and something happened, but when you look deep into what it is that this event is talking about, arguably even the Christians ended up gaining more ma'rifah of the maqam of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam by just looking at them, that many those that claim to be Shia today have of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. So in the year of what is known as Aam al-Wufud, the year of the delegations, the Holy Prophet would invite various people from different parts of Arabia towards Islam. As he had established the government in Medina, the religion was growing, the power of the Muslims was growing, and so the Holy Prophet was now extending invitations to the various tribes and the cities that surrounded Medina, inviting them towards Medina to discuss and to hear of the message of the Prophet. If they chose to accept Islam, they could then carry on as normal. If they chose not to, then they would live under the Islamic government but paid the tax of the non-Muslim, so that they're able to utilize all of the benefits of living under that government. So the Holy Prophet writes to the Christians of Najran. The letter is very short. It says, from Muhammad Rasulullah to the Christians of Najran, I call you from the worship of the creation to the Creator, and I take you from the leadership of men to the leadership of the divine. When this letter reaches Najran, the Archbishop, a man by the name of Abu Haritha, who was 120 years old, receives this letter. He consults 3 of his closest advisors, and all 3 of these advisors say to him that this man seems to possess all of the signs of the final prophet. We should go and we should meet him. So what Abu Haritha does, having consulted his 3 3 of his closest councilmen, he then rings the bell in the central church of Najran and gathers the people of Najran. And he tells them that we have received this letter from this man called Muhammad in Medina, who is claiming to be the prophet of God. And he is claiming to be the final prophet of God. Someone pipes up in the crowd. They say to him, Abu Haritha, is not your cousin Musaylama also claiming to be a prophet? And he too is from the line of Ismail alayhi salam. Is he not also a claimant to this position? Abu Haritha looks at him and says, do not compare Muhammad to Musaylama, for I have received reports that a blind man went to Muhammad, he placed his saliva in his eyes, and the blind man regained his sight. On the contrary, a sighted man went to my cousin Musaylama, he placed his saliva in the eyes of this sighted man, and he became blind. Says there is no comparison between my cousin Musaylama and this man Muhammad who is claiming to be a prophet. Says, I have heard that a paralyzed man was brought to Muhammad, and he touched him and he regained and became able-bodied. So they say, so then what should we do? Abu Haritha says, what do you think? They say we should send a delegation to Medina to go and visit this man, the cream of the crop, the best of all of them, the most scholarly, the most religious. All 60 of them, they gathered them and they set out from Najran towards Medina. And along the way, a number of things happen. People fall ill, people get injured. Just outside of Medina, of some kilometers away, Abu Haritha's horse, it throws him off and falls on top of him, injuring Abu Haritha. Abu Haritha's brother comes to him. He says to him, Abu Haritha, all of this trouble we are going through for this Muhammad, why? Oh, look at all of the people that we brought. Some are injured, some are ill, some are thirsty, and then now you have ended up getting injured. Maybe this is a sign. Maybe we should just not go to Medina. Maybe we shouldn't even meet with him. Why are you doing all of this? Abu Haritha says to his brother, come close. He says to him, I'll tell you why. He says, Muhammad is right. His claim to be a prophet is correct. He fulfills all of the signs that we have of the final prophet. So he says, what's the problem then? Abu Haritha says, do you know how much money we collect from the Christians of Medina? Hubb al-dunya. He says, do you know how much we get in taxes from the Christians of Medina? Accepting Muhammad would be to cut off the supply of the taxes that we receive from the Christians of Medina. He says, so we have to go. See, he's right. But in the end, the wealth. حب الدنيا رأس كل خطيئة. حب الدنيا is the root of, or the head of all of the evil and all of the sin in this world, that attachment. They finally reach Medina, covered in the dust and the dirt of the deserts. They go, they shower, they change, and they put on all of their regalia. As much jewelry as they can wear, the finest clothes, silk, brocade, everything. They wear it, and they come to the mosque of the Prophet in Medina. They come towards the Holy Prophet, and he turns away from them. So if they came from the left, he turned to the right. So they went around and they came from the right, and he turned his face away from them again. And so after a few attempts of trying to get his attention, the Holy Prophet kept turning around. Abu Haritha and his delegation give up. So I don't understand what's going on with this man. So they leave the mosque of the Prophet. As they're walking out, Abu Haritha sees an old friend from back in the day, Uthman ibn Affan. He says to him, Uthman, you still here? He says, yes. He says, have you become a Muslim? He says, yes, I became a Muslim. He says, Uthman, I don't understand this prophet of yours. We've gone to meet him. We went from the right, he turns his face to the left. We go to the left, he turns his face to the right. He won't even entertain us. What do we do to make him talk to us? Uthman says, I don't know. I don't know. If there's anyone that can tell you what the thoughts, the very thoughts of Muhammad are, it is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Go to the house of Ali. He will tell you exactly what it is that the Prophet of God is thinking. So they come to the house of Amir al-Mu'mineen. They knock on the door, Amir al-Mu'mineen comes, welcomes them. What is it? We went to see the Prophet. He keeps turning away from us. Amir al-Mu'mineen looks at them and says, you went to see the Prophet dressed like this? Says, yes. Says, change your clothes. Remove all of the jewelry. Remove all of this fanciness. Go in simple clothing. And he will come and he will speak to you. Humble yourself in front of him. So the Christian delegation again now leaves. They go, they change their clothes, and they put on a simple dress. And now again they come to the mosque of the Prophet to meet the Prophet. The Holy Prophet welcomes them. He sits them down. They say, what is your claim? The Holy Prophet says that we are calling you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards the worship of Allah. They say, so this is what your Islam is, to worship Allah. Says, yes. They say, well then we're already Muslim, problem solved. We also worship God, we also worship Allah. The Holy Prophet says, no. You worship the cross, you consume pork. Says, and you believe in the Son of God. Says, these things are opposite to Islam. Says, to accept Islam, you must renounce all of these. And so here the debate begins. They say on the matter of the Son of God, says, you tell us, the Christians say, who was the father of Musa? The Holy Prophet says, Imran. Says, and who was the father of this and this? And the Holy Prophet answers and says, and then who was the father of Isa? Says, Isa had no father. Says, and it is for this reason that we say that he is the Son of God. For he was born of no father. At that moment, that famous ayah of the Holy Quran comes down. Says, O Prophet, say to them, Inna mathala Isa inda Allah kamathali Adam. خلقه من تراب ثم قال له كن فيكون كن فيكون. Says that, tell them, the example of Isa is like that of the example of Adam. We created him from earth, and then we said to him, be, and he became. They don't want to accept. Debating back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until they just do not accept anything. And the ayah of Mubāhala comes down. فَمَنْ حَاجَّكَ فِيهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَكَ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا نَدْعُوا أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ. That, and if they, after being given proofs, choose to reject, then tell them that you bring your sons and we will bring our sons. You bring your women and we will bring our women. You bring yourselves and we will bring ourselves. ثُمَّ نَبْتَهِلْ فَنَجْعَلْ لَعْنَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْكَاذِبِينَ. And then we will invoke Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send his curse upon the liars. They accept. They accept the challenge. So the date is set. The place is set. And the next day they prepare. The Muslims, hearing of this, now they get excited, thinking, who is it that the Holy Prophet will take? There are many that are hoping that it will be them that the Holy Prophet takes. There were many that were father-in-laws or related from a distance. So maybe it could be me. And so they wait eagerly to see who it is that the Holy Prophet will take. When the morning dawns, the Holy Prophet comes out from the home. Prior to that, he'd sent Salman to the area. Said, Salman, I want you to go and clear this area outside of Medina and place this cover up so that my family can come and sit underneath it. The Muslims were all waiting. How it is, who it is that the Prophet will bring. And they saw in the morning that the Holy Prophet is coming out from the home. And it is the Holy Prophet of Islam. In his arms is Imam al-Hussein, in his hands is Imam al-Hassan. Behind him is Az-Zahra alayha salam, and behind her is Amirul Mu'mineen. And each of them are walking towards the place of Mubāhala. This itself is one of the fada'il of Ahlul Bayt. You know where we say that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam are Quran al-Natiq. They are the walking Quran. Look at how it is that the Quran lists who should come. It says, أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ. First the sons. And so the Prophet is bringing Hassanain alayhimus salam first. وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ. And in the middle is Zahra. وَأَنفُسَنَا وَأَنفُسَكُمْ. And at the end is yourselves. And as the self, Ali ibn Abi Talib, is being brought by the Holy Prophet to the grounds of Mubāhala. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The Holy Prophet comes out and he begins to recite a dua. We have narrations from both Imam Sadiq and Imam al-Baqir that the dua of the day of Mubāhala contains the Ism A'zam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so whosoever has a haja, has a request from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they were to recite this dua of the day of Mubāhala, their request would be fulfilled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those that are interested, I can give it to you afterwards, inshallah. When they come out, and from the other side, the Christians come, they see the Holy Prophet walking out. They see Hassanain alayhimus salam. They see Zahra alayha salam and Amir al-Mu'mineen. Abu Haritha turns to his people and he says, don't debate with them. Move back. Concede. Says, by Allah, the faces that I see in front of me are such that were they to order the mountains to move from their place, the mountains will move from their place. Says, these are no ordinary individuals. If we go into a debate with them, no Christian will remain on the face of this earth. So Abu Haritha and his delegation come and they concede to the Holy Prophet. They say, we will pay the jizya, and we will pay the tax and allow us to live as Christians within Najran. The Holy Prophet accepts, and then there is a whole amount that is written by the Holy Prophet that your tax will be this many skins and this many barley and all of that, and they accept and they leave. This one event is one of the greatest fada'il of Ahlul Bayt. When it came to Ghadir, they found, the mukhalifin, the enemies, found some way of twisting it. They said, no, Mawla doesn't mean that. It just means friend. The Holy Prophet was saying friend. Or then they tried to change, even during the time of Muawiyah, like the ayah of wilayah, the ayah of ruqud. They said, no, this was about Ibn Muljim, Mal'un. Or then they said, no, what happened in Khaybar was like this, and the Prophet didn't mean it like this. Actually, he didn't say Ahlul Bayt, he said Sunnah. Quran and my Sunnah, not Quran and Ahlul Bayt. So in every way, they tried to twist it. But here, there was no way out of it. There was no way that they could find any room for anyone else. Even someone that a Nasibi like Ibn Taymiyyah, a hater of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, he admits, yes, the only people that went with the Prophet in Mubāhala were those 5 individuals with the Holy Prophet, those 4 individuals that went with the Holy Prophet. But even then, you know that little insect, it can't keep it at bay. He says, however, we accept this, that the Holy Prophet took these individuals as the women, as the sons, and as his nafs. He took these individuals. But had he taken Abu Bakr, the dua would have been accepted faster. So this level, it is that event that cannot be distorted. Cannot be distorted. Although today I was sent a clip where there was an alim and he was referring to Alusi in Ruh al-Ma'ani in his book, Sunni alim, and he was saying that, oh no, you've heard about this, but let me tell you this, that there was also Abu Bakr and Umar also went, and then the wives of Abu Bakr and Umar also went, and the children of Abu Bakr and Umar also went with the Holy Prophet into the Mubāhala. However, this is incorrect. Shia and Sunni sources say it is only these 4 individuals that went with the Holy Prophet. Nobody else was allowed to go with the Holy Prophet into this Mubāhala. And then there are so many different lessons in terms of the maqam of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam within this. If you look at what Abu Haritha and the advisor of Abu Haritha that is with him says, that by Allah I see such faces that are coming. Were they to pray for the mountains to move from their place, they would move from their place. That these individuals have that level of wilaya, that level of that maqam with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, I've mentioned it before, that the hujjah of Allah controls every single atom within existence bi'idhnillah. Everything is at the disposal of the hujjah of Allah. Everything is at the disposal. And so to reach Allah, one must connect to the hujjah of Allah. Without the hujjah of Allah, an individual can never achieve those maqamat. There could have been guidance for Abu Haritha and his people, but they chose a life of misguidance. And why? Hubb al-dunya, love of the dunya. The taxes of the Christians of Medina were more important to them than finding the truth, even though Abu Haritha is saying that this is the true path. The question then arises is, how do I then save myself from misguidance? Because for all intents and purposes, Abu Haritha was far more versed in the scriptures than me or many other people. He was aware of all of the signs. He'd read all of the books, but yet still was misguided, still moved away from the haqq. And throughout history, we have individuals like this. When you come to the event of Karbala, you'll see individuals where the hujjah of Allah is standing in front of them, and yet they cannot see the truth. Their attachment to this world, it diverts them from that guidance. They turn their back on the hujjah. And so we want to look at what are the reasons for misguidance. What causes misguidance in an individual? And then we want to look at our own lives to see how much of these particular characteristics do we have within our own life. The first cause of misguidance is ya'as, despair. And we've mentioned it before, that despair is one of those gunahani kabira. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hijr, verse 56, He says, قَالَ وَمَنْ يَقْنَتُ مِنْ رَحْمَةِ رَبِّهِ إِلَّا الضَّالُونَ. Says, and who despairs of the mercy of his Lord is but of the erring ones, of the dhalun, of the misguided ones. And you will remember when we were discussing the difference between ya'as and qunut. We were saying ya'as is when it's just in your heart. Qunut is then when you bring it to your tongue and in your actions. Why did God do this? Why? And I begin to despair. So whosoever despairs of that mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will be misguided. Whoever thinks that Allah won't help me through this difficulty, there's no forgiveness for me, there's no salvation for me, there's no way that I can get out of this situation, that individual will always be misguided. The one that does not have that tawakkul ala Allah. Zuhri was a big alim during the time of Imam al-Sajjad. He gave a ruling in regards to someone and ordered the death penalty be enacted on that person. The person is killed. Later on, it turns out that the person that was killed was innocent. Zuhri comes to the Kaaba wailing and crying, total and utter despair. Imam al-Sajjad is there. He comes to him and says, Zuhri, says, I don't fear for you the wrong judgment and the killing of an innocent person in front of Allah than I do about your despair. That you think that God won't forgive you, that you're despairing. So I'm not worried about that you killed the innocent life. What is more damaging to you is this ya'as and this qunut that you have. That you think that God won't forgive. And despair is the greatest sin. And remember, despair isn't just like, oh, God won't forgive me. It also comes in an individual when I start saying, oh, you know what? I'm too old to learn. I'm too old to change my ways. I'm too old now, or, you know, I don't have time now. These are all words of despair. That I know that there is something wrong in my life. There is a habit that is bad. And I say, oh, well, now I can't get rid of it. You know, I can't get rid of my anger. I'm an angry person. I can't change. I've tried. I give up. And so now I'm going to double down on that anger rather than trying to change it. There is never an excuse in the life of the believer to say that I cannot change or learn something new. Yes, after the age of 40, it becomes difficult to form new habits and break old habits. But it's not impossible. And this is why the narration says that the 2 days of the life of a mu'min are not the same. Each day is an improvement on the day before. Because there's this constant movement. If I become stagnant, then I become like stagnant water. See, stagnant water becomes the harbinger of diseases. It begins to smell. You can't drink from it. It is terrible. The stagnant soul is exactly the same. If I'm not moving and developing and learning and still improving myself, this stagnant soul will begin to harbor spiritual diseases within it. It will begin to let off a scent, a smell of sin from it. And so the believer has to always be in a constant state of motion. It can never be that I say, no, this is all I've done. I've never heard this before. For 50 years, this is what we've done. And now all of a sudden, this is something new that we've heard. No, when you hear something new, learn, understand it. I mean, sometimes it may be that the new things that are coming out are utter rubbish. You know, some of the things that people are saying nowadays, you know, they develop new theories, new ways, whatever it may be. But at least entertain that idea. Learn how to counter it. That itself is that progression towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no space for despair. Look at the story of Yunus alayhi salam. Yunus alayhi salam, 100,000 people. He leaves them. Says that, you know, these individuals, they can't be saved. Let them be. Ya Allah, send your adhab. Allah is saying, are you sure? He says, yes, Ya Allah, I've tried. I've tried for decades. Wipe them out. Allah says, if that's what you want, Yunus, then I will. He says, yes, Ya Allah. And so Allah says, tell your people 7 days. They have 7 days that they need to fix up or my adhab is coming. Yunus alayhi salam, he goes, he tells the people, then he packs up his things and he leaves. Surah Al-Anbiya verse 87. وَذَنُّونَ إِذْ ذَهَبَ مُغَاضِبًا فَظَنَّ أَنْ لَن نَقْدِرَ عَلَيْهِ. And when Yunus alayhi salam went away from them in anger, and walked away from them, and because they would not, and he thought that we would not hold him to account for this matter, and then the whale comes, swallows him, and then in the darkness of the belly of the whale, he calls out, La ilaha illa ant subhanaka inni kuntu min adh-dhalimin. Fastajabna lahu wa najaynahu. And so he's saved. The whale spits him out. The sixth Imam says, had Yunus alayhi salam not said this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I would have kept him in the belly of the whale until Yawm al-Qiyamah. But he said this, and the whale spits him out onto shore. He's there on an island, hungry, thirsty. Ya Allah, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty. Allah orders a gourd plant to grow, to give him shade. And then he eats from the part of the gourd plant. He falls asleep, wakes up in the morning, and a worm has come and eaten away at the plant, and the plant's all dead. And everything has been ruined, all his food. Says, Ya Allah, says, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? My food has now been consumed as well by the worms. I've got nothing to eat. I have nothing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says that, Yunus, you left 100,000 people and you didn't think what would happen to them. And here you are worried of one person. This one worm that has eaten your food, you're worried about yourself. You aren't worried about what would happen to them. He says, go look at them. He says, all of them have become Muslim. 100,000 individuals, all of them, came to the truth more than any prophet in the history of their prophethood. For all 124,000 prophets, Yunus alayhi salam, his people, 100,000 of them. All the other prophets, you look 40, 50, 60, 100. Nothing more than that. Why? What was the reason? It is because when the people were made aware of the adhab, it was one scholar amongst them that convinced them to do tawbah. Even though they knew that the adhab of Allah is coming and it is certain, and they have belittled Yunus for decades, they know that it is 100% certain, but they never gave up. They never despaired. They never said, that's it, it's all over now. May as well wait for our fate to happen. So no, never give up. They all did tawbah. All of them came onto the path. And the adhab of Allah was diverted from them. Ya'as, despair, is the first reason of the misguidance of an individual. The second reason for misguidance of an individual is giving in to hawa nafs, to the lowly desires, giving in to the wants of one's base self. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Jathiyah, verse number 23, says, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهُهُ هَوَاءَ وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ. Says, have you not seen those individuals who take their lowly desires to be their gods? And Allah has made them misguided. Those that give in to their own whims, their own opinions over the opinions of God, they can never come towards guidance. They may on the zahir seem like they are coming to the masjid and they are attending the majlis and they are doing all of the traditional things. But when it comes to their own desires, they're giving in. There are parts of the religion that they'll take, parts of the religion that they will reject. This part I'll take. This part doesn't work for me. I'll leave that part at home or outside of my home. I don't want that bit. But I like this salah thing, so I'll do this. I like this fasting, so I'll do this. But, dress code, no, not for me. Or music, no, not for me. These things, I like them. So I'm going to do what I want to do. And at that point, God is parked to the side. So giving in to one's lowly desires. Look at Umar ibn Sa'd, the desire for Ray, the governorship of Ray. He gives in and he's willing to kill the Hujjah of Allah. Even though the Imam himself visits him and says to him, come, join us. Refuses. Ubaydullah Hurra Jofi, another individual. Imam comes, visits him. Says, come, join us. Says, no, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get killed. This is a suicide mission. Al-ayadhu billah. You don't. Says, but I'll give you weapons. I'll give you a sword, a horse. Take that. That's my contribution to your cause. We do that a lot, right? I don't want to come and get involved and do all the hard work, but I'll give you a contribution to your work. I'll give you a donation, but don't ask me to come early and clean or arrive on time or do all of this. No, I'll give you a donation. So Ubaydullah Hurrajofi is saying the same thing to Imam al-Hussein. Saying, I'll give you a donation, but don't ask me to do anything. And in the end, I mentioned it the other day, he goes from one group to another, Tawabin to Mus'ab ibn Zubayr to Mukhtar, from Mukhtar to Mus'ab, and then eventually he jumps and kills himself in the Furat. Could have been with Abu Abdullah. In the end, he just dies the death of a lowly individual. But on the other side, you have people like Zuhair ibn Qayn, not a follower of Ahl al-Bayt, but yet he meets with Imam al-Hussein. One meeting, that's all it took. And a meeting that wasn't very long. It was so short that history hasn't even written what Imam al-Hussein said to Zuhair. But when he comes back and he enters into the tent, those that were waiting for him in the tent said it was as if Noor was dripping from the face of Zuhair. He turns to his wife, says, the choice is yours. Should I divorce you so that you may be free to return back to the home of your father? Or will you accompany me? He says, where is it that you are going? He says, that's for me, I am going to join Abu Abdullah. He fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen in Siffin. He was in the army of Muawiyah. Zuhair on one side. Abu Sha'tha. Abu Sha'tha is one of the closest friends of Hur. When Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam gives his khutbah in Karbala, he's part of the army of Hur. When he hears the khutbah of Imam al-Hussein, Abu Sha'tha, he turns to Hur and he says, I can't stay on this side anymore. And at that point, Umar ibn Sa'd's letter comes. Don't let Hussein go anywhere. Kill him. He says to Hur, Abu Sha'tha says to him, Hur, this is the grandson of the Prophet. This is the son of Fatima alayhi salam. How can we kill him? I want no part in this. He leaves, he joins Abu Abdullah. Hur himself, Shabi Ashur, he comes, he joins Abu Abdullah. Going against your own desire, if Hur had stayed on the other side, there's a great chance that he would have been given many things in this world. Abu Sha'tha, if he'd stayed there, he would have been given many things in this world. Those that carried the head of Sayyid al-Shuhada, those that carried the head of Bani Hashim, were given rewards by Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. Abu al-Hutuf and his brother Sa'ad, just before the time of Asr, everyone has been killed on the side of Abu Abdullah. Abu al-Hutuf and his brother Sa'ad, they look at each other, they say, what have we done? Let us go. Here, look, everything has happened. The battle is almost over. The only person left is Imam al-Hussein now. Abbas has been killed, Ali Asghar has been killed, Qasim has been killed, everyone has been killed. At this point, a person looks at this and the atrocities that have been committed, and they may despair and think, there's no way that Imam will forgive me now. There's no way that I could reach salvation now. I was party to all of that killing. But still, nonetheless, they don't give up hope. They ride across to Abu Abdullah. They say to the Imam, Yabna Rasulillah, we were there when they killed your Ali Akbar. We laughed as they killed your Abbas. We were there and we watched the killing of your 6-month-old son. Is there any chance that we can be forgiven now? Abu Abdullah looks at them and says, now that you have come to Hussein, all is forgiven. Those individuals that fought against Imam al-Hussein, and you know who Abu al-Hutuf and Sa'ad are? They were part of the Khawarij that defected and fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen in Siffin, and then went to Nahrawan and committed the atrocities of Nahrawan, and Amir al-Mu'mineen went and fought in Nahrawan and he killed, where he says in the khutbah Nahj al-Balagha that I ripped the eye out of the fitna. Nahrawan is the most bloodiest battle of the life of Amir al-Mu'mineen. When there were like 10,000, 12,000 individuals, by the end of the battle of Nahrawan, there were only a handful of Khawarij that remained. 2 of them find themselves there on the day of Ashura in the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, Abu al-Hutuf and his brother Sa'ad. And now, just before Asr Ashur, they're coming to Abu Abdullah. Can we be forgiven? Individuals with this much evil in their books fought against 3 of the Hujjah of Allah, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Hassan, and then Sayyid al-Shuhada. But they never gave up. And at one point they chose to fight against their own desire. And they went across to Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam looks at them, says, now you've come here, all is forgiven. Say, Yabna Rasulullah, then give us permission to go out and fight. Imam al-Hussein says, go. They turn, they go out, they fight, they're killed. Today when you go to Karbala, their names are written upon the Darih. Fighting against the nafs. When one gives in to the desire, then that individual will be misguided. You look at those that were with Abu Abdullah. Each of them, even those that were with him from the start, those individuals that were, even the youngest ones. You know, there's not just one 13-year-old Qasim in Karbala. No, there was Abdullah ibn Muslim ibn Aqil. There was Amr ibn al-Junada. This Amr ibn al-Junada, his father has just been killed. in the battlefield. 13. Comes to Imam al-Hussein. Ya Rasulullah, give me permission to go out and fight. Imam al-Hussein says, your father has just been killed. Your mother is alone. She was with them. Your mother is alone. Stay, take care of your mother. Looks at Sayyid al-Shuhada. He says, Ya Rasulullah, my mother is the one that sent me. And this young man, he rides out. Every other shaheed in Karbala, when they rode out, they introduced themselves. Habib rode out, Ana Habib wa Abi Mudhar. I am Habib and my father was Mudhar. But this young man, look at the ma'rifah that he has of the Imam. Look at those parents that raised him. He rides out. He doesn't introduce himself. Rather, at the age of 13, he goes out. Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir. If you want to know who I am, then Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir. Sururu fuad al-Bashir al-Nadhir. Aliyun wa Fatima walida. Wa hal ta'lamuna lahu bin Nazir. Says that if you want to know who I am, then you should know that Amiri, my leader is Hussein, and what a leader he is. And if you want to know who Hussein is, Aliyun wa Fatima walida. Ali and Fatima are his parents. And what greater virtue is there than this? Goes out at the age of 13. He's martyred. He's one of those individuals that they say that his head was severed from his body before the event of, before the end of the day, while he was still alive, and they threw his head to his mother. And she picked up the head and said, what we give in the way of Abu Abdullah, we do not take back. And she threw the head back. The second reason for misguidance is the one who gives in to their desires. But the one who has sacrificed all of their desires for the desire of the hujjah of Allah will always be on the path of truth. The third and final reason for misguidance is the hardness of the heart. When the heart of an individual becomes hardened through sin, through forgetting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَوَيْنٌ لِلْقَاسِيَةِ قُلُوبُهُم, says that woe to those whose hearts have become hard. مَنْ ذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, from the remembrance of Allah. أُولَٰئِكَ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ, and surely they are in clear error. The heart that becomes hard, then it doesn't matter what happens, what you say, what nasiha you give. That person isn't willing to change because the heart has become rusty. They become stubborn in their way, stubborn in their sin. And they don't want to change, don't want to move. Dawood Nabi, he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, all of the kings of this world have a treasury. Ya Allah, where is your treasury? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to him, Dawood, my treasury is greater than the arsh itself. It is higher than the sky. It is wider than this earth that you live in. Says Dawood, my treasury has 4 doors. The first door is the door of ilm, of knowledge. The second is of hilm, of forbearance and patience. The third is of rida, of satisfaction and acceptance. And the fourth door to my treasury is the one of sabr, of patience. Says, Ya Allah, where is this treasury of yours? Where can I find the divine treasury? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Dawood, my treasury is the heart of the mu'min. That's where you will find all of my treasures. But when the heart of the mu'min becomes hard, and all those doors become closed, then that person can't seek guidance. And I've said to you many a times, if you want to know if that heart has become hard, Ashura is coming. If you want to know if your heart has become hard, see, can you shed tears for Abu Abdullah? When you hear the musibah of Imam al-Hussein, when you go to ziyarah and you give salam at the dharih of Imam al-Hussein, does your heart break? If it doesn't, then it's become hard. And then I've said that reciting Quran at the time of Sahar, this removes rust from the heart of an individual. Not overeating removes rust from the heart of an individual. Doing istighfar removes that from an individual. But how does it become hard? It's not just sin. If you look at the narrations, there are 4 main things that harden the heart of an individual. Too much talking without the remembrance of Allah. I sit with friends, but when I'm talking, I'm talking about everything else. But there's no mention of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no connection back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll talk for an hour about the hockey game. I'll talk for an hour about not concerned about anything. No connection to Allah. It says when you talk too much without bringing the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into that conversation, it hardens the heart. Second, listening to the haram words. Listening to ghiba, listening to tuhmat, listening to swearing, haram music, all of these things, that will harden the heart. The third thing, interestingly, is sitting with a miser, with a person who's a miser, person who doesn't want to part with their money, person who doesn't want to part with their time, their advice, their whatever it is, that person that is a miser. If you sit in the company of a miser, one that will stop you from giving in the way of Allah, one that will stop you from giving charity, one that won't extend his help for others, one that won't give advice to others, says that individual is a miser. Says if you sit with the miser, your heart will become hard. You too will become miserly. Company is extremely important. Sitting with the miser. The fourth thing is sitting with the dead. The companions, they asked the Prophet, what do you mean sitting with the dead? Said the dead person, not the one that is in the grave. No, sitting with them is good for your heart. That's good for your heart. Going to the graveyard, sitting amongst those graves. Says sitting with the dead that are dead in the dunya. Says who is the dead person in the dunya? He says it is the rich man that is inattentive towards his responsibilities to God. It's the one that has been blessed with wealth but is inattentive towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He thinks that this wealth is all from his hard work. Doesn't want to pay his khums, doesn't pay zakat, doesn't do charity, doesn't do. Says that individual, person that is like that, sitting with that person will harden your heart. The Christians of Najran knew the truth, but they chose to turn against it. Reasons for that misguidance: despair, giving in to own desires, and having that hard heart. These 3 things will take us away from guidance. We look at our own lives, we analyze our own lives. How much of these things do we have within our lives? How much of these things do we not have? The fastest way out of all of these difficulties, out of all of these turmoils, is to hold on to the coattails of the Hujjah of Allah. and ask Him to take you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Muharram is coming and I won't see you before the first. Make sure you utilize those 10 nights. Don't let those 10 nights leave. As I've been saying, the Arafat, they say there is a very specific rizq that is available to you in those first 10 nights of the holy month of Muharram. And throughout, when it comes to tears for Abu Abdullah, but especially those first 10 nights. Don't miss a moment of that majlis. For whatever reason it may be, at that one point, be selfish to be in the majlis of Abu Abdullah on time throughout the whole majlis. Because it has huge, huge benefits for you. There are narrations that say that there are armies of angels that come down to the earth during the majlis of Abu Abdullah, and they sit in the majlis of the remembrance of Abu Abdullah. And when they finish, they go back up to the heavens. And the other angels say that there is a scent from your bodies that we have never smelt before, a scent that is unmatched. Where have you been? They say, we just attended the majlis of Imam al-Hussein on the earth. They said, is it still going on? The angels say, no, it's finished. We left it and we've returned. So those angels that were unable to attend, they come down to the earth, to that place where the majlis of Imam al-Hussein was held, and they rub their backs against the walls of that Husayniyah, against the walls of that house where the majlis of Imam al-Hussein happened, in order to gain the barakah of that majlis. Imagine now that you do not miss even a minute of that majlis. Set your times so that you can be here on time. You can listen to the marthiyah, you can hear the majlis, you can be in the masa'ib, you can take part in the azaa, in the matam. Even if I can't cry, do tabaki. Put your head down and show respect for it. Believe me, you do this from the first night. Give it 2 nights, tears will begin to fall from your eyes. If not, then give it 5 or 6 nights. But I guarantee you, if you give respect to the zahir of the musibah, the zahir of that action, by the time you get to Shab Ashur and the day of Ashura, your tears will be uncontrollable. Because you have respected the sha'a'ir of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sha'a'ir of Abi Abdullah, the signs of Imam al-Hussein are from amongst the sha'a'ir of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives our sins. Pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives the sins of our parents. Oh Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Those in education, make them successful. Ya Allah, give sanctuary, safety and victory to the people of Palestine. Ya Allah, destroy the oppressors in whichever form they may come. Ya Allah, show us the day where the oppressed will have victory over their oppressors. Ya Allah, keep our ulama and our maraji at the head of our institutions. Give them long and healthy lives. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true waiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite 3 of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
This black here, can't get off this black.
We zoomed in. I'll zoom out for you, no problem.
I want to recite this one, but the black thing, I don't know why.
Why it comes up? Let me try to pull it up. 1 second, let me try to do
Salawat Nabi. अली से पूछे फजीलत नमाज पढ़ने की, अली से पूछे फजीलत नमाज पढ़ने की, अली से पूछे फजीलत नमाज पढ़ने की, जो कर रहा है मजम्मत नमाज पढ़ने की, जो कर रहा है मजम्मत नमाज पढ़ने की। नमाज पढ़नी है घरवाली से नमाज के साथ, अभी से डाल लो आदत नमाज पढ़ने की, अली से पूछे फजीलत नमाज पढ़ने की। मैं चाहता हूँ अली के अली से बात करूँ, मुझे यूँ रहती है उजलत नमाज पढ़ने की। मैं जब मुसल्ले पे आऊँ तो दिल ये कहता है, मैं जब मुसल्ले पे आऊँ तो दिल ये कहता है कि करबला से है इजाज़त नमाज पढ़ने की, अली से पूछ नमाज पढ़ने की, अली से पूछ फजीलत नमाज पढ़ने की। सलावत।
صلوات. On the 24th of the Hajj, victory at Mubāhala, victory, victory, victory at Mubāhala, victory, victory, victory at Mubāhala. Rasulullah extended an invitation to them, come and worship one God and be united in Tawheed. They rejected the call of Allah and they were defeated at Mubāhala. Victory, victory, victory at Mubāhala. Victory, victory, victory at Mubāhala. The verse was revealed to Ahmad, bring your sons and we'll bring ours. Call your women and ours and ourself and yourself. Invoke the curse of Allah in the desert for Mubāhala. Victory, victory, victory at Mubāhala. Victory, victory, victory at Mubāhala. The beloved daughter of Nabi, her name was al-Zahra. She is the lady of light, worship to only Allah, representing all the women, representing all the women. Shine friend in Mubāhala. Victory, 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 al-Mubāhala, leaders of Yusuf, Jannah, paradise, Dirnul, al-Hassan, and Shabir was on the right hand, Shabir was on his left, as the sons of Habibullah, as the sons of Habibullah, the glory of Mubāhala. Victory, 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 al-Mubāhala. Victory, 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 al-Mubāhala. The soul of the Prophet, his wali, the line of Asadullah, Allah, the standard and our guide, is the great of al-Murtaza, an example to all the ummah, an example to all the ummah, Ahlul Bayt al-Mubāhala. Victory, 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 al-Mubāhala. Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, 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 Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali. Kurru Rabba kullul awwal, Ali, kullu Rabba kullul awwal, Ali, 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 Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali, Ali, Mawla, Ali. Durud Muhammad wa Muhammad par.
السلام عليكم. لا صلوات اللهم صل. میں تو پنجتن کا غلام ہوں، میں تو پنجتن کا غلام ہوں، میں غلام ابن غلام ہوں، میں تو پنجتن کا غلام ہوں، میں تو پنجتن کا. مجھے عشق ہے تو خدا سے ہے، مجھے عشق ہے تو رسول سے، مجھے عشق ہے تو بطول سے، مجھے عشق سارے چمن سے ہے، میں تو پنجتن کا غلام ہوں، میں تو پنجتن کا غلام ہوں. مجھے عشق ہے تو علی سے ہے، مجھے عشق ہے تو حسن سے ہے، مجھے عشق ہے تو حسین سے، مجھے عشق شاہ زمان سے ہے، میں تو پنجتن کا غلام ہوں، میں تو پنجتن کا غلام ہوں. صلوات.
صلوا علی محمد. جب خدا کو پکارا علی آ گئے، جب علی آ گئے زندگی آ گئی، زندگی بندگی روشنی آ گئی، روشنی آ گئی، آ گئی، آ گئی۔ غسل میت نہ کہنا میرے غسل کو، اجلے ملبوس کو مت کفن نام دو، غسل میت نہ کہنا میرے غسل کو، اجلے ملبوس کو مت کفن نام دو۔ میں چلا ہوں علی سے ملاقات کو، جس کی تھی آرزو وہ گھڑی آ گئی، زندگی بندگی روشنی آ گئی، جب علی آ گئے زندگی آ گئی۔ موت ان کے محبوں کو آتی نہیں، آ بھی جائے تو پھر بچ کے جاتی نہیں، موت ان کے محبوں کو آتی نہیں، آ بھی جائے تو پھر بچ کے جاتی نہیں۔ موت کا کیا خطر، موت سے کیا ہے ڈر، اس سے بچنا بھی کیا گئی آ گئی۔ جب خدا کو پکارا علی آ گئے، جب علی آ گئے زندگی آ گئی، تیری مسند پہ غیروں کو بھٹلا دیا، نائب مصطفیٰ مظہر کبریا، تیری مسند پہ غیروں کو بھٹلا دیا، نائب مصطفیٰ مظہر کبریا، تو علی و وسیع و ولی رہا، منزلت میں تیری کیا کمی آ گئی، زندگی بندگی روشنی آ گئی، جب علی آ گئے زندگی آ گئی۔ محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔ Brothers and sisters, please rise for the ziyarat.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته، السلام عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا غريب الغربة وبعيد المدى السلطان بالحسن علي بن موسى الرضا، السلام عليك وعلى آبائك السبعة وعلى أبنائك الأربعة وعلى أختك فاطمة المعصومة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا سيدي ومولاي يا صاحب العصر والأمر والزمان، سيدي الأمان الأمان من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. اللهم أرنا الطلعة الرشيدة وغرة الحميدة، واكحل ناظري بنظرة مني إلي، وعجل فرج وسهل مخرجا، واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصار المستشهدين تحت لوائه. السلام عليك أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا، حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا